Good morning. My name's Mana. I'm a channel and a psychic medium. And in this session, we are inviting a channeled expansion on the 10 commandments that we recently received for some of our practitioners who have been seeking guidance on how to remain grounded in our authentic self, especially when we find ourselves in existing relationships or jobs that are toxic or unsupportive or draining, but we don't necessarily really want to leave. Like, we don't want to go away or leave the job or leave the person. So most of these folks are not looking to walk away from these situations, or they may not be in a position to walk away, but they do want to know how can we stay aligned with our core value or our truth, our authentic self, our spiritual path, even within these situations. Okay, so uh, what I'm going to invite today is just an expansion on those 10 points that we have already received. For those of you who have never seen me channel before, when I channel, I tend to speak quite fast. Okay, I speak really fast. So we will record this session and we'll make it available for a replay. So if you want to go back and watch it again, it's available for you. But overall, it's a fun experience. So all I want you guys to do is sit back and just absorb what's coming in because it's coming directly from the source. Okay, I do not exist when I channel, so it just comes from the source. I don't channel other beings. Like, I don't channel from guides or other like uh, people or collective intelligence or anything like that. I just reach for what I consider to be the highest source out there that is available to all of us. Okay, it's something available to you as well. So channeling will happen very fast with almost no breaks. Okay, I'm not gonna stop. I'm not gonna ask you to like ask me questions or anything. I'm just gonna go in and I may go between channeling and just being myself. So if you have any questions on your mind and if they don't get answered in the next 45 minutes, please just put those in the chat. So at the very end, I'll look at the chat, I'll take all those questions, and then I'll get back to you on those ones. Okay. Having said that, what I'm going to ask is one of you, perhaps Katie, as we begin to start channeling, I'm going to ask you to read those 10 commandments. So start reading like one at a time, and then I can expand on it. Okay. But here's the first thing I want to put out there. Um, Super important, something that you may want to write down is that your spirit's timeline is not the same as your physical body's timeline. And that's a very profound and liberating insight that we have touched on, the idea that our spirit is not bound by the linear timeline of our physical experience. So what it means is that it doesn't relate to things like loss of failure or urgency or anxiety or even death itself in the same way as we do physically. Okay, your spirit's looking at these things completely in a completely different way. So that's why sometimes, even after a devastating experience, a deeper part of you kind of feels strangely aligned. It feels strangely at peace, right? That's your spirit saying to you, this is not the end. This is just a pause to steer back on the right route. So the way I visualize it is just, while you're driving, sometimes we tend to miss an exit or we take a completely different road. And then you miss like a stop sign or you come to a red light and you realize, oh shit, I don't know how I am here. I wasn't supposed to be on this road, and then you recalibrate and you go back. You try to go back to the old route. Okay, so that's how your spirit is kind of looking at it. We can sit here and analyze how we got to a point in our life, but it's useless pretty much, because your spirit's not doing that. Your spirit's kind of recalibrating and moving on, moving on, moving on. So the point I'm trying to make is your spirit, your soul, your higher self, your essence is rooted in eternity. Okay, it's not rooted in time. It does not measure your progress in years of productivity, on income, or milestones or relationships. To the spirit, there's only the unfolding of consciousness. What feels like being behind or failing in your physical life doesn't register as wrong to your spirit. It simply is looking at all these things at evolution, expansion, and learning. So even if you are in a toxic workplace, even if you are in a relationship that's unsupportive, your spirit is not going to be rushing. It knows exactly that you are where you're meant to be, even when you're confused, even when you're feeling lost, even when you're aching. These situations, the way we look at it physically is, oh my God, I wasted 7 years of my life with this person. Your spirit says you needed those years to unlearn the lie and just kind of awaken to the reality of why you're here. Okay, so hope I'm making sense. The other thing is most of our anxiety about being in a wrong job or in a wrong relationship or about running out of time, getting older or not achieving enough or missed chances or broken dreams. Those things those things are coming from a place of ego, which is obsessed with survival. Your ego is obsessed with survival, it's obsessed with status, it's obsessed with controlling things around you. The soul, the spirit doesn't play by the rule book. The spirit doesn't compare your timing to anyone else on this call here. Okay, it's not even trying to win life, it's trying to experience life. So you can be on purpose and still be in a unknown, still be kind of failing, still starting over. That's just part of your curriculum. Okay, from your spirit standpoint, there's no shame in delay, there's no shame in failing, there's only depth. In all those situations, there's only depth. So to our human self, that loss can feel like collapsing. It can feel like, oh my God, everything's working against me. But to the spirit, it's more like shedding, it's more like transmutation. Death, the spirit sees it as transitioning from one form to the other. Failure, the spirit is looking at it as refinement. Ending, those are doorways to the next layer of becoming someone you are supposed to be. Okay. So that's why sometimes after a devastating experience, a deeper part of you may feel like, whoa, I needed that. It feels strangely okay. It feels like peaceful because it's not the end. It's just you're becoming. Okay. You're becoming into your spirit self, which is amazing. So I want you guys to recognize that. So what I want to do is I will ask for both spiritual guidance and then practical physical guidance on all situations. So let's look at these commandments. Let's look at the 10 points, both spiritually, which I feel like all of you kind of understand it, absorb it. But then we also want to look at them practically. Like, what do I do? Like, what are like the strategies I can apply? So we can ask for both those things. Okay. So now let's talk about the word blueprint before we get there. You kind of hear me use the word blueprint a lot, especially in mediumship too. I'm going to keep using blueprint, your soul's blueprint. What do I mean by blueprint? I mean your destiny. Now, the word destiny is super loaded, right? We could say your calling, your will, your original instructions, your personal medicine, your soul level script that you bring to the world, the reason why you are here. And that doesn't mean what you're doing for a living necessarily. It's possible that it overlaps. It's possible that it doesn't, and it's okay. What I'm talking about when I say blueprint or destiny is even more fundamentally about being yourself, about being aligned on a soul level with who you came to the planet to be. Why did you incarnate? Why did you use this body? Why do you have this family? So how does that aspect or aspects of you or what you are find expression through your everyday life, things that you're doing every day, the way you spend your time, the people that you surrounding you, how you show up for others, your character, all of that. So when I say blueprint, I'm talking about being yourself. Are you being true to yourself in a deep sense? It's possible that it has to do with fulfilling certain types of contributions to the world. But most fundamentally, when I say destiny or soul's blueprint, it's about your character. Okay, I'm talking about your character, about your ethics, your core value, and being who you are, and just staying really true to you, regardless of the situation that you find yourself in. It's like when no one's watching you, who are you? Right? That's what I mean when I say destiny or blueprint. Okay. So let's get to the first one, the first of the 10 commandments. Katie, what was that again? The first one?
Figure out your core value.
Can you just read that out for us?
Your core value is the compass of your spirit. It's not what you were told you should value, but what your soul already lives by, unshakable even when no one is watching. Ask yourself, what am I willing to stand for, even if it costs me comfort or approval? When you live from this place, life aligns. When you don't, everything feels like friction. Most people confuse values with beliefs, goals, or preferences, but your core value is what your soul came here to embody. When you name it clearly, you step into your power because now your energy has direction.
Hmm. So at the deepest level of your being, the deepest level of your being, beyond conditioning, beyond culture, beyond expectation, there exists a truth that is uniquely yours. And this truth is not learned. It is not something that we have to learn. It is something that we remember about ourselves. Okay. It's the quiet yet firm voice that doesn't shout for attention, but it just stands steady when the world around you is really loud and distracting you. That is your core value. So, spiritually speaking, your core value is the signature frequency of your soul. It's how your inner being chooses to move through this life. While others may give you framework, religion, ideology, political belief systems, family tradition, none of these things can actually substitute for the integrity of your own soul's compass. Okay, your core value predates all those frameworks. It is the inner alignment that draws you closer to your authentic self and why you're here. Now, practically speaking, living by our core value looks like you make choices that may not always make sense to others, but they feel undeniably right to you. You remain honest when it's inconvenient. You remain kind when it's not reciprocated from the other side. You remain brave when there's lots of fear involved. It's not easy. Okay, it's in those moments, especially when no one is watching, that your core value will reveal itself. You don't need an audience to stay true to it because you're not performing, you're embodying. So to live spiritually and practically from your core value really means continuously returning to what feels most aligned in your chest, in your heart space, your gut, your breath. Is kind of asking yourself constantly, what should I, not what should I do, but what would honor my spirit in this moment? Okay, so don't ask for what should I do now. Ask for what would actually align with my spirit, what would actually feel good to my spirit in this moment. And sometimes it's not going to be dramatic. Okay, it's in the small little choices that we make, how we speak to a stranger, how you treat your time, how you show up for others, is how your core value is going to reveal itself. It's not about perfection, it's going to be about presence. The more we recognize our core value, not as a rule, but just as a sacred substance that your soul is made of. So if I was to look at your body, your essence is made of your core value. The more you live, not just in the world, but from that essence of who you are, the more you're living your core value to me. What's the next one, Katie?
Figure out your core beliefs. Your beliefs shape your reality, but many of them were inherited from others or adopted in fear. Core beliefs that are rooted in fear, such as I am not enough, or I need others to approve of me to be safe, create prisons, not paths. Ask yourself, are my core beliefs expanding me or shrinking me? Are they making me more of who I am or less? Often we chase success or stay in toxic relationships because of distorted beliefs that make us betray our values. Real freedom comes when we can challenge our beliefs, see where they came from, and ask, is this belief aligned with my soul's truth?
Yeah, I mean, the core belief is not the same as your core value. The core beliefs are the silent architects of your reality, right? They sit beneath your thoughts, they sit beneath your habits, they sit beneath your sense of identity. And to figure them out is not to construct them from scratch, but to remember what has been quietly steering your choices all along. Like most of us have been here because we have belief systems. They're like the fake roots. I like that. They're like the fake roots beneath the soil. Like it's acting like your roots, but very clearly they're not the root. You can see them and they're always shaping what grows above. They're always shaping what happens with us. Spiritually, discovering our core belief is a form of, I kind of look at it like an inner excavation. Okay. You're sitting with the part of yourself that was shaped by early experiences, cultural things that you received from your parents, ancestral stories, even society like the school, the education system, the country. All those things are going to give you your core beliefs. You're asking, what do I believe about myself? What do I believe about others? What about life? What are my belief systems? What about the divine? More importantly, are those beliefs mine or are they borrowed? Like, did someone give those to me? Ask that question of yourself all the time. Some beliefs are kind of inherited out of survival. Others we may have absorbed from our environment, but somewhere underneath all of that, um, beliefs can arise from your core value. Okay, so there are certain beliefs that will arise out of fear, and then there's certain beliefs that will just be so in alignment with your core value. So practically, this process means slowing down and paying attention when you feel triggered, or when you're feeling excited, or you're feeling ashamed, or you're feeling proud or loved. Those are signals. You got to ask yourself, what belief just got activated in me? And maybe you'll discover that you believe you're only worthy when you're achieving. Or maybe you'll discover that love is conditional. I have to give something back. Or that joy is dangerous. Or money is evil. Don't judge it. Just name it. Name it. Only then can we decide whether to keep it or whether we want to rewrite it. Okay, the minute we start judging ourselves harshly, then we lose the train of thought. Our job when core beliefs show up is to name them, acknowledge that we have a core belief, and then decide whether it actually aligns with your core value or not. To figure out your core beliefs is to take back authorship of your life. Instead of being run by unconscious programming or coding, you begin to live consciously from a place of alignment. And it's spiritual because it demands honesty and humility. Okay, it's practical because it's directly affecting how you speak, how you love, how you work, how you rest, how you lead. And here's the beautiful part. Here's the beautiful part. When you align your core beliefs, write this down. When you align your core belief with your core value, your entire life will begin to feel like it's less of a performance and more of a kind of like a prayer. You're praying, it's like a flow state, a tune. Like when you hear those beautiful ancient, tunes like songs or prayers, that's how it begins to feel. Like your life begins to feel like that. Okay. So once again, when you align your core belief with your core value, your life will not feel like you're performing. It will feel like just this is who I am. What's the next one, Katie?
Why are you still in this job or relationship? Is it aligned with your soul's blueprint? This question isn't to create guilt, but clarity. Staying in a job or relationship out of fear of survival, loneliness, or disapproval is deeply human, but ultimately unfulfilling. Fear-based staying is not the same as soul-based commitment. Sometimes the soul keeps us in challenging situations not for suffering's sake, but because the situation is shaping us, teaching boundaries, compassion, discernment, or even patience. But once the lesson is learned, continuing the cycle becomes self-abandonment. The only reason to stay in any situation is if it helps you walk closer to your spiritual destiny, the person you came here to be.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, I don't think this question is to invoke any kind of panic or shame. I believe it's just an invitation to clarity, right? A moment of taking stock. Life will ask this question quietly again and again. Whenever you feel drained, disconnected, or out of rhythm with yourself, that inner restlessness isn't something to silence. I wouldn't want you guys to silence it. I wouldn't want you guys to ignore it. It's a spiritual signal, like a gentle nudge back towards alignment. Okay, so spiritually speaking, each soul comes into this life with a unique blueprint, a pattern of growth, a frequency of purpose, a set of qualities that came here to cultivate and embody and share. That doesn't mean everything feels easy or always joyful, but it does mean that your spirit knows when it is off course. Okay, we gotta know that we are going off course, you're on the wrong exit, we're taking the wrong route. If you're staying in a job, if you're staying in a relationship or environment purely out of fear, please write this down. If you're staying in a job, if you're staying in a relationship or in a certain environment purely out of fear, fear of disappointing others, it could be fear of financial insecurity, it could be fear of being alone, it could be fear of uh, disappointing family or friends. So whatever that fear is, you're not weak, okay? You're human. So fear is the most natural response that human beings have. But a fear-based life gradually leads us away from ourselves. So we begin to shrink, we begin to numb, and we begin to perform a life, or we begin to settle. Your spirit may grow quiet, but it never stops whispering. It will always have that little voice in your head. There is more, there is different, there is truer, push yourself harder, get out of it. Now, this doesn't mean every hard situation is misaligned. Some of the soul's most important growth experiences happen when we are in discomfort. Sometimes the soul will lead you into difficult situations, not for punishing you, but for transforming you. Okay, a tough job may be where you learn to speak up for yourself, right? A strained relationship might be a place where you find your self worth, you find forgiveness for yourself, you find your own truth. Soul based commitment is not about ease, it's about evolution. It's about evolution. Soul based commitment is not about ease, it's about evolution. But here's the spiritual pivot. When the lesson has been learned, once you know that, okay, this is my lesson, I love it, I got it. When you have learned it and you still decide to stay in it, you still decide to stay in that situation, now something else is happening. It's self abandonment. Okay, now you're abandoning yourself. And a betrayal of not others, but a betrayal of your own sacred path is what's happening in those moments. So, practically, this means taking some time to ask these questions. Ask these questions. Ask, what is the situation still teaching me? Am I supposed to stay in it? Am I growing here or am I just surviving here? Is my staying an act of love or is it out of fear? If I were radically honest, what does my spirit need next? Am I staying in this situation from an act of love or am I staying it from an act of fear? And you don't have to leap without a net. Sometimes clarity will lead to small, gradual changes, but honesty is the first shift. Okay, guys, honesty is the first shift because once you see that something no longer aligns with your soul's path, you cannot unsee it. Okay, you cannot unsee it once you know it, right? And then every moment you ignore that knowing, you lose a little more of yourself. The more we ignore, once we find out that this is a horrible situation I'm in, and I still decide to stay in it, I'm really not learning anything at this point. Learning is all done, and I still choose to stay in it, you're going to lose a little bit of your own radiance every single minute. The only reason to stay, the only reason to stay in a job, in a relationship, or any space is if it is helping you walk further into your wholeness. Okay, if it is nourishing you, great, stay in it. If it is anchoring you, stay in it. If it's expanding your capacity to live, stay in it. Anything else, no matter how familiar and how good it feels, is a detour. Okay, and you at this point in your journey are no longer available for detours. You cannot go back. What's next for us, Katie?
Are there aspects that feel aligned or joyful? Sometimes we throw the whole experience away because certain painful elements, but the soul is nuanced. Even in pain, there may be parts of the experience that are sacred moments of connection, growth, or purpose. By identifying what is aligned, you reconnect with the parts of your life that are still feeding your light, and that becomes your foundation to build on.
Yeah. And we often view our lives in binaries, right? Stay or go, good or bad, success or failure. I mean, how many of us do that? How many of us are looking at things as good or bad, or this is successful, this is fail? But the soul doesn't work in absolutes like that. It doesn't speak like that. Its language is layered, subtle, and paradoxical. And so even in the middle of pain or confusion or dissatisfaction, there can be threads of light. There can still be light at the end of the tunnel, right? Moments of alignment, glimpses glimpses of joy, subtle but sacred kind of truths coming up to light. So sometimes in our longing to escape what feels really difficult, we discard the entire experience. We are so focused on what's not working that we overlook what is working. But this reaction, while understandable, can be spiritually short sighted because hidden within even the most difficult situations, there are often these jewels, a connection that feels nourishing, a task that can spark meaning for you, a lesson that is reshaping you in beautiful ways. So the guidance is to pause and ask, what part of this actually feels aligned or joyful? Even in difficult situation, ask yourself, what part of this feels aligned and joyful? I believe that's going to take us to the next piece, which is about gratitude. But if you are tuning into your soul's frequency, asking it to point out what is still true, still kind of life-giving and nourishing, that's a good thing because that will ultimately lead you to feeling little sense of gratitude, even in difficult moments. This isn't a way of minimizing pain. Okay, this isn't a moment of minimizing pain or spiritually bypassing anything. It's about holding complexity. It's about acknowledging what's broken and honor what still is alive within those situations. In a job that you have outgrown, maybe there's one task that you absolutely love, or maybe there's one person that you feel like their presence will uplift you, right? Or in a relationship that is kind of shifting, maybe there's still moments of laughter or mutual growth or deep understanding and friendship. So, practically, identifying those aligned aspects will give you something to build on in the next job, in the next relationship. You don't have to tear your life down to find joy again. You can reconnect with what's already working. That thread, however small, becomes your foundation. It becomes your compass for what you seek for your future, what you want to amplify, what you want to protect. And here's the thing, and I think we all need to note this down, is that if you only feel sadness, if you only feel like you're broken, it's not working, I'm only focused on the negatives, you are going to manifest negatives because your energy is going into looking at what is not working instead of looking at what is aligned, what is working. How can I manifest more of this instead of manifesting what's not working? Unfortunately, because we get stuck in our physical body and we start analyzing and we only focus on the negative. And then what happens is, even if you find yourself out of that job or relationship, you may find yourself end up back into a similar situation few months down the road. So it's better to focus on what's working within a relationship so you can manifest more of that. Spiritually, the practice will help you cultivate gratitude, like I said, without denial. It reorients us to a posture of discernment instead of despair. You begin to see that your life is not a problem to fix, but kind of like a mosaic of lessons, right? Blessings and choices. And in recognizing the parts that do feel aligned, you are creating the possibility of movement. You are creating the possibility of moving from suffering to meaning and from confusion to clarity. Because joy, even in small doses, is a sacred clue, a sacred glue too. You know, it's kind of how our soul says, yes, I want more of this. I am in a relationship, it sucks, but this is what's working and I want more of this. Okay. I hope we are all absorbing it because I find it so beautiful because we do focus on the negatives. What's the next thing we have, Katie?
Can you appreciate anything about your current situation? Appreciation doesn't mean condoning harm or accepting mistreatment. It means stepping into the vibration of clarity and empowerment. When you find something, even small, to appreciate, you step out of the victim frequency and back into your spirit's seat. Appreciation is the antidote to despair, and it reminds you there is still light here. I am still connected.
Yeah, it is so. And how many of you just raise your hand in the chat if you want to tell me how many of us were in tough situations and we felt like there is just no light at the end of the tunnel, and it just felt like we were so focused on the negatives of it that whatever we ended up in later turned out to be the exactly same thing again, few months down the line, right? And the question is not a call to, like I mentioned to you, it's not about bypassing anything. Okay, we're not trying to bypass anything. It's kind of recalibrating your inner world. So when you start focusing on gratitude, what you're doing is you're saying, even if I'm here, I still have the capacity to see light. Even now, I'm not fully disconnected. It doesn't erase the heart, it simply refuses to be defined by it. So when life feels heavy or painful or confusing, it's easy to feel like everything is broken, right? Like I felt that, like everything is broken. How do I get out of this? But rarely everything is broken. Rarely. Okay. Sometimes it's just the loudest parts that are broken. Beneath the noise, there is still small truth that is holding you together. And a moment of peace in the morning, like a nice cup of coffee in a quiet place, or a quiet word from a stranger, a realization that you have grown stronger than you were a year ago, a lesson that has clarified what you no longer want to manifest in your life or you'll no longer tolerate has come from that chaos. So when we start looking at gratitude, these are not trivial things, right? They are anchors. I would lean into these moments of gratitude as much as I'm leaning into the negatives of the situation. Spiritually, appreciation will align you with your higher self. It raises your frequency from victimhood to hope, from despair to discernment. Not because you're ignoring the shadows, but because you're choosing to remember that light is also part of the picture, right? Appreciation grounds you in the present moment, which is where healing becomes possible. When you're trapped in fear or anger, or you're nervous or you're anxious, your system is in survival mode. But when you access appreciation, even in the toughest situation, even briefly, you reawaken your ability to choose, to act, and to see the bigger view. Okay, that's what your spirit's doing. That is exactly what your spirit is doing. It's not, you're physically not doing it, but your spirit is doing that. So align yourself more as a spirit. You don't have to die to be a spirit. You definitely don't have to go near death to be a spirit. We are still spirits. We just have a body for the time being. So why not just live as a spirit in this body? right? Practically, this doesn't mean staying in situations that are hurting you. It means accessing your inner strength so that you can then make a clear choice from empowerment, not from exhaustion. Appreciation might look like saying, this job has shown me what I don't want. Now I know what I'm ready for. And how many of you feel that? This particular situation has shown me what doesn't work for me, but it has also shown me what I'm now ready for. This relationship has revealed parts of myself I still need to heal, right? Or even today, I'm still breathing, still learning, still becoming. That is something. That is something. So it's not about forcing gratitude. I wouldn't want you guys to feel like you're forced to be grateful. It's about cultivating it. Okay. It's about really feeling it. If you're not feeling grateful, sorry, you're not feeling grateful. Okay. It's a spiritual muscle though. We gotta develop it. So because when you find even one thing to appreciate, when I wake up in the morning and I look up and they're like two faces, like two dogs looking down at me, that's my moment of gratitude. I start my day, you interrupt the spiral of hopelessness, even in tough situations. You remind yourself, there you go, that's my light. I'm still connected. I'm still so much more powerful. I'm not lost, and my spirit is still intact. It's just recalibrating, and my body needs to follow my spirit. Okay. So, from that place, the next step, whether it's staying, leaving, grieving, rebuilding, can be taken with far more clarity and grace. So I wouldn't want you to change your jobs or leave the people that you love out of fear. If you want to do those things, if you want to stay, stay in it with clarity and grace. Leave it with clarity and grace. Grieve it, rebuild it, whatever you're doing, do it from a place of empowerment and clarity, not from a place of exhaustion and fear. What's next for us, Katie?
Make a list of all the things you do appreciate. Gratitude list is an energy recalibrator. By consciously focusing on what you can appreciate, you tune your nervous system out of survival mode and back into a place where guidance, inspiration, and next steps can emerge. If you find nothing to appreciate, ask, what is this situation showing me about myself? What am I learning? What am I waking up to? Even the recognition of misalignment is something to honor.
I mean, gratitude is energy medicine. It is energy medicine. It shifts your nervous system from fight or flight into a state where peace and creativity and intuition can reawaken. So when you pause to name what you appreciate, how many of you guys do that actually? This is just coming from Mana, just curiosity. How many of you guys do every day kind of just in your mind look at all the things, simple things like the warmth of your coffee, right? The breath in your lungs, the lesson hidden in the discomfort. You begin to tune out all the noise of lack and reconnect with the quiet abundance of what's already present. And I cannot tell you, I've felt this so much in the last 6 months. Every morning I sit in my backyard, sip my coffee, and I look around. It's like, man, like I'm so grateful for having this physical body, even with all these like lessons and heartbreaks and all these things that the physical feels. The spirit's like kind of dancing to its own tune. It doesn't the two separate rule books, right? So spiritually, this practice isn't about denying difficulty. Okay, that's not what we're trying to do. It's about holding both. It's about holding the grief and the grace. It's about holding the pain and the presence. It's an act of choosing consciousness over contraction. When you write a list of things you appreciate, you're not trying to escape your reality, but you're expanding your perspective to look beyond what's working. And you're asking, what light is still here? And more importantly, what is life still trying to show me? So sometimes you may not be able to find anything external to be grateful for, and that is completely okay. In those moments, just turn inwards and ask, what is the situation awakening in me? What have I realized about my boundaries, about my value, and about my resilience? And what illusions are falling away so I can see clearly? Even the recognition of misalignment is a sacred moment, guys. It so truly is, because that's the first step. You just recognize that you're misaligned. Imagine going your entire lifetime. Now you're like 95 years old and you've been misaligned the whole time. It's better to be misaligned and recognize it than just live a life, waste your life away by not recognizing that you're misaligned the whole time, right? So that too deserves to be honored. Practically keeping a daily or weekly gratitude list, even if it's just like one thing on it, can literally rewire your brain over time. It's not about being endlessly like positive. It's not like being like toxically positive. It's about being honestly present with this, with what still holds beauty and meaning and truth for you. Okay. And that presence becomes anchors. From there, your next steps will come from a place of clarity, not desperation. It will come from grounded clarity, what you're supposed to be doing next. So, because when our energy shifts, our awareness will expand. And from that wider view, new pathways will appear for you. Not because your outer life is suddenly perfect, but because you're more connected to your inner life, to your spirit. The outer life is never going to be perfect. I just tell you that today because the outer life, the physical life that we live, there's just so much going on. There's so many other people involved in it that it's never going to be 100% perfect. But your inner life is going to be perfect if you can make it, right? So let's look at what's next for us. What was the next thing, Katie?
Vet whether your attitude might be the core issue. This is where deep
Yeah.
spiritual responsibility comes in. A toxic attitude, one rooted in entitlement, blame, or victimhood, creates perpetual dissatisfaction. It doesn't matter what job you get or who you are with, you will find yourself dissatisfied. The spirit can't grow in this soil. Ask yourself, is my suffering due to my environment alone, or have I stopped choosing gratitude, growth, and presence? This doesn't excuse abuse, but it reclaims your role as the co-creator of your path. People who never reflect on their attitude tend to jump from one painful situation to another, always blaming the outside, never facing the inner landscape.
Yeah. One of the rules of mediumship, which some of you have studied in level 2, was personal responsibility will precede personal empowerment, right? We study that. Yeah, I believe this comes from that, where this is the turning point of real spiritual maturity, at least for me. It's a moment where you stop asking, what's wrong with my life? And you start asking, what energy am I bringing to it? What am I doing? What am I bringing? Our attitude is like the lens through which we make meaning of everything: relationship, work, struggle, even the divine. And if that lens, if your attitude, your lens is clouded by entitlement, by bitterness, by blame, by unchecked victimhood, or by jealousy or hatred or trauma, or this is what happened to me when I was little, even the most beautiful opportunities will look distorted. Okay, we will miss what's sacred because we are too focused on what's missing. And this isn't about self blame. I'm not asking you guys to blame yourself. This is about self responsibility. There's a huge difference. Blame will keep you stuck, right? Responsibility will set you free. And it says, no matter how I got here, and do not care, I don't want to analyze how I got here, but I still have agency. I can still shift. I can still grow. I can choose again. So spiritually, once again, there's no timeline. That's a great thing about being a spirit. No timeline. Spiritually, your attitude is the soil in which your soul will grow. And if the soil is poisoned with cynicism or comparison or resentment or trauma, or my mom did this, my sister did this, your spirit won't be able to root deeply in this lifetime. Okay. It's not that job, the partner, or the city, or the path. It's not always something wrong with others. It may be that you are not showing up for yourself fully within it. Sometimes the job doesn't need to change at all. Sometimes the relationship doesn't need to change at all. Sometimes you need to change. And that's what I mean by that. So let's be very clear. This does not excuse toxic environment or abusive relationships or structural oppression. If you're being mistreated, your pain is valid, and there are times when your suffering is indeed a direct result of what's happening around you. But even in those cases, your attitude will decide what happens next for you. Okay, your attitude will decide how you respond, whether you rise or whether you fall, whether you retreat, whether you reclaim, or whether you repeat. So here's what I would ask. I would ask, with being super honest, I would ask, am I showing up with curiosity or just with complaints every day? Have I stopped looking for what is working? Am I still choosing present or am I just reaching from habit because I'm so used to it? Have I made myself a passive character in my own life? Am I a passive character? And I hope this is all resonating with you because it is resonating so deeply with me. I was a passive character in my life for a very long time. So choosing presence, okay, not habit. Choose presence, do not choose habit. Let's look at the next thing.
What would it feel like to live your core value? Visualization is not fantasy. It's a rehearsal for your soul's destiny. Imagine if your life were in perfect alignment with your core value, how would it feel in your body, your relationships, your voice, your energy? This feeling becomes your internal compass. You may not change the whole situation overnight, but now you have a true north. You're not walking aimlessly anymore, you're walking home.
Yeah, visualization. I mean, this is not about dreaming. Okay, I'm not asking you to daydream about your life away, but it's about remembering the feeling of truth before it becomes something. So remembering the mold before you pour the jelly into it. Visualization, when rooted in soul, is not escaping anything. It's an act of energetic alignment. It's your spirit whispering, I'm creating with my mind first. This is how it's supposed to look like. This is what feels in alignment. And now let me pour the cement in it. Now let me pour the mold, the jelly into the mold. Because now exactly I know what it needs to look like, what my life would look like. This is the life that matches my frequency. So when you take time to imagine and live that frequency, then it becomes much easier to put things into it, right? But if you just don't know what that frequency feels like, what the mold looks like, then you're just walking like aimlessly. You are walking with your soul when you visualize. Bit by bit, your outer life will begin to shift, not because you're forcing it, but because you're kind of magnetizing new experiences into the mold that fits your inner vibration. I hope this makes so much sense to everyone here. You know, the more you visualize what a perfect day looks like, then you can place things in it. You know, like practically speaking, a perfect day on your calendar, then you can have a perfect day because you know exactly where you're supposed to be at 10 a.m. And that's exactly what I mean by spiritually aligning and visualizing. When you create a visual calendar of how your life's supposed to be, and then see how it actually manifests. Okay, if there's no fear, if there's no abandonment, if you're not exhausted, everything will fall in place once you have the visual mold of how your life is supposed to look like. So let's move into the next one because I do want to ask them for some practical steps we can take. So let's look at the next one here, Katie.
Take only aligned steps from now on. Even the smallest actions, spoken truth, setting a boundary, asking for what you need, telling them how you operate counts when it is taken in alignment with your core value. Life is built one step at a time. You don't need to leap or jump or risk it all. You just need to lean. Every time you make a choice that reflects your value, your soul celebrates. These choices reroute your destiny towards your blueprint.
Yeah, and transformation doesn't always come in grand, dramatic leaps. More often, it happens in quiet and consistent steps taken with intention and integrity. Like, ask yourself that. When your actions resonate with your core value, even the smallest step carries immense power. So, speaking a truth you have been holding back, setting a boundary that you have avoided, or asking clearly for what you need. Tell me what you need. Like, speak, communicate with me, or simply sharing how you operate. All these may seem like little things that you're adjusting, like little minor um, things in the grand scheme of things, but together they form this sacred kind of picture of your soul's unfolding. Okay, so little things every day. Spiritually, each aligned step is a note in the song of authentic life. Okay, that's now me. Soul keeps score not in judgment, but in celebration. Every time you choose a path that honors your essence, you are telling the spirit, I see you, I honor you, I'm walking with you. This alignment will fuel your inner fire and it builds momentum, rewiring your destiny towards the blueprint you were born to live. That was hard to say. All of that, all those things. Practically, this means you don't need to risk everything or make sweeping changes overnight. You don't have to wait for the perfect moment or for all the answers to appear. Instead, you lean into your core value in whatever feels possible right now. You cultivate a habit of noticing the little choices before you make them, right? And you ask, does this thing, like replying back to the text message and saying yes to something, does this actually reflect who I truly am? Do I really want to do this? Does it bring me closer to my soul's truth? Like these are little things that you have to do over time. These small little steps become a pathway out of fear, out of confusion, out of resignation. People begin to really understand who you are because every day you're persistent and you're taking little steps towards who you are. They anchor you in presence and power, allowing your life to unfold organically and super authentically. It's in these everyday moments, choosing kindness over resentment, honesty over silence, courage over being complacent. That is your destiny. Okay, so your soul doesn't demand perfection, it only is demanding you to be aligned with it. Your soul doesn't demand perfection. That is so profound because our physical bodies and our brain is constantly demanding perfection, but our soul doesn't demand perfection. It is simply asking you to be in alignment with who you came here to be. So it celebrates your willingness to show up again and again, right? And the path may not always be very clear, but with each aligned step, you draw closer to the life that you are meant to live here, right? So remember, I want to write this down. Remember, you're not trying to control the entire journey at once. You're simply taking the next right step, the one that feels true to your core value. Okay, and trusting that the path will reveal itself as you walk on this consistent path of you, even when you are already in a toxic place. Just the little steps will keep you aligned to where you're supposed to be headed. What's the next one we have here, Katie?
Communicate your core value in relationships. Truthful, loving communication is the bridge between authenticity and connection. If someone truly loves you, they will want to understand what fuels your spirit. Ask verbally or in writing with openness. Can you support me in living my value? If the answer is no, or worse, your value is ridiculed, this is a major soul signal. Relationships that deny your core value become cages, but those that honor and evolve with it become sacred vessels of growth. Let people show you who they are when you show them who you are, and trust what is revealed.
Love that. I love that so much. Yeah, I mean, authenticity and communication in relationship is the ground where your spirit can both breathe freely and grow deeply. What they're saying to me is that your core value is not just a personal compass, it's a language of the soul, right? That invites connection beyond surface level interactions. So when you communicate your core value really every day lovingly, you build a bridge for the other person to really understand who you are, right? It's kind of a bridge to your heart for others. This communication isn't about demanding compliance. You're not saying you're supposed to be doing this for me. No, or you're not demanding approval. It's an open hearted invitation where you say, here's what fuels me. Here's what makes me feel alive and whole. Okay. Can you meet me here? Can you hold space for this part of who I am? And look at your romantic relationships, look at your family relationships, friends, and also your workplace. Can you ask these questions? Can you openly say to your boss, this is what fuels me. This is what makes me feel alive and creative and whole. Can you please help me? Can you please support me in this? Can you meet me here? Can you hold space for this part of who I am? Speaking this clearly verbally, because unfortunately, human beings, most of us only understand verbal language. Speaking this clearly, whether softly in a conversation or thoughtfully in writing, creates a sacred opportunity for deeper understanding and mutual respect. Now, if the other person is like, no, I can do this, you're in the wrong place. You're in a terribly wrong place. You got to get out of that place because 10 years from now, they are not going to make any changes. And you'll still be thinking, oh, I was told a long time ago I should have moved on. Spiritually, this is a profound act of courage and self respect. To voice your core value is to say, I will not shrink, I will not hide to make others comfortable. I am going to honor my soul's blueprint and I seek relationships that will reflect and uplift that. It invites the energy of growth and evolution rather than stagnation or compromise. And I know some of you ask, what if I am in an unsupportive relationship? What? Try communicating first and see if anything changes. See if they actually act on things they promise to you. It's crucial before you just like leave, right? So when you lay your core value on the table, you also illuminate, you put light on what others truly offer. If the response is dismissive, hear this very clearly, be in your body as I'm saying this. If the response from the other person is dismissive of you, if they're ridiculing you, if they are saying, what the heck are you talking about? Or dismissive of what you hold sacred, this is a red flag on a soul level. That's not going to change. Such reactions reveal a fundamental misalignment with that job or that person or that environment. These relationships can subtly or overtly become cages, trapping you in patterns that will erode your spirit over time. Take a note. It's a red flag if they do not want to support you at all. Please. Conversely, relationships that honor and evolve with your core value become sacred vessels. They hold space for our growth, right? They're challenging us lovingly and they're inviting us to expand into who we are. So, what does it mean practically? Now, I know you guys are looking for this. Practically, set clear, compassionate boundaries, okay? Express them verbally. Either speak of them or write it openly without apology. Don't say, I'm so sorry, but don't start like that. Just say, this is who I am. I wanted to express this to you deeply. Can you please listen to what I have to say? And then you listen deeply on how they respond to you, not through their words, but through their actions and their energy. Trust the signal that your heart and your body is sending you. If you feel unseen, or if you feel disrespected when sharing your truth, take that seriously. When you show others who you are, you invite them to do the same. So this is great because it is going to foster connection on a soul level. Okay. And I know you guys are probably looking for, but I don't want to leave them. I love them. But that's not what I'm receiving right now. What I'm receiving is you gotta communicate. First be clear in your own head. Make sure that your attitude is not a problem. Make sure that you are just trying to align with your core value. And then communicate it with your the people around you, people you love, people you work with and see what their response is. If their response sucks, you know you got to get out because that's not going to change. Okay. Listen when people show you who they are. So then that brings me to, let's look at some practical strategies. So let's ask guidance on, give us some pointers on what exactly we should be doing in this physical body, having to deal with complexity of relationships and jobs and responsibilities, which may not always align with where we want to be. The first thing that's coming in is to one, anchor yourself daily. Can you expand on that for me? Anchor yourself daily. Build a personal ritual to reconnect with your core value every single day, even if it's 5 minutes. Morning check in, asking yourself, what do I want to live for today? Or how can I embody my value today? It sounds really weird, but yeah, you gotta do that. Like, put it on your phone or something. Remind yourself who you are, regardless of what others say or do. Remind yourself their behavior does not define you or your worth. Their behavior does not define you or your worth. Their behavior is defining them. Okay, so breathing, breathing or grounding practices. Inhale your core value. Like if freedom is your core value, inhale it. Freedom, like feel free. Exhale fear, self betrayal. Okay, so grounding will be the first thing. The second one I'm receiving is define like a, what they're calling it is like a North Star. I don't know what that means. A North Star phrase. Create like a simple statement that embodies your soul's purpose. Use it as a compass. So, what's an example of that? What would be an example of a North Star phrase? An example would be, I'm here to bring clarity and healing to or for. That's like a phrase that you can use to remind yourself, like a compass. Make it your phone's background or repeat it under your breath when you're triggered or tape it to your mirror or something. Remind yourself why you are, what you're here for every day, every day. Then comes the next one, which is practicing what looks to me like micro boundaries, like little boundaries. Okay, so when environment won't change quickly for you, when the job is not going to change like overnight, or when the relationship is not going to change overnight, shift how much access others have to your energy. Say, let me get back to you on that, instead of saying immediately, okay, 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 I'll do that. I'll write this email. Say, let me get back to you on that. Second, limit oversharing with people who are weaponizing your weakness. Limit oversharing your success with people who are weaponizing and they are jealous and they're just not on the same level. Now, if you're in the middle of a conversation about something and you feel like your core value is being squashed, leave the room, even briefly. Just excuse yourself, go out, get some water, leave the room, even briefly, when the conversation is triggering you or is crossing your values. Be ready to walk away from toxic people and places without having to sit there and receive the beating. Be ready to walk away from toxic people and places and emails and text messages without having to sit there and take it. And one thing that really helps me personally is the fact that I don't always feel like I need to respond to everything. Like that's so good. Sometimes some people will send you text messages or email and they're expecting you to react and tell them something. And you just feel, no, I don't want to say anything. I'm okay. I'll just move on. I disagree, but I don't want to say anything to you. And that's so powerful. That silence is so powerful because that will just make the other person like madder. They'll be so mad. Most unconscious humans have an upside down mirror. Oh, I love this one. I love this one. So, most unconscious humans who are not spiritually grown have an upside down mirror, meaning we will reflect on others. Typically, we reflect on others and they will show us what we are giving them, right? But most humans will reflect the opposite. So if you show them fear, they will show you force. If you show them strength, they will show you weakness. Use that to your benefit. Use that to your benefit all the time. Know that most human beings are not just simply reflecting back love and compassion all the time, because that's not true. That is not true. You can be compassionate and people are just spiteful at you, right? So in those situations, know that the person has an upside down mirror. So whatever you show them, you're going to get the opposite. So use that to your benefit. Show them strength and see how they back off, right? If you show them fear, then they will show you force. They will show you that they have control over you. So keep that in your mind. I love that one. Then build quiet exit strategies. This is for people in stuck up relationships or toxic workplace. If the space is unsafe or if it's depleting you, begin to plant seeds for the change while staying grounded in purpose. You're going to polish your resume, look at what the jobs, focusing on opportunities that align with your values, save money. If financial freedom is tied to your destiny, do that. Research on support groups and places and coaching and things that you can be part of that feels like a plan, like an exit strategy for the next thing. Because I said this to my death doula client 2 days ago. Her mom's dying and she's been in the case of medical narcissism. She wants to start her own business. And I said to her, if you want to start your business, you can't wait for 11 months to wait until your mom has passed away and then try to pitch your business. You got to apply your mind now. So by the time 11 months have passed and your mom is no more here, you've put in all this work and you're ready to launch. You're not starting 11 months from now, right? So build quiet exit strategies for the next thing while staying grounded in that situation. Because if you don't have a plan, then you may find yourself falling back into a similar situation again because it's going to come out of desperation and exhaustion. And then detach emotionally so that you can act intuitively. Don't take anything personally. Remind yourself you're on a soul's timeline. What's fun to me going through this 2025 is the fact that I'm on my soul's timeline. I'm no longer on a physical timeline. So I see people like have meltdowns because they are anxious about deadlines and all these things around me. And then it feels like, wait a minute, I am on my soul's timeline and nothing in the physical world can impact my soul's blueprint or its timeline. So yeah, physically there may feel like few things are off because everyone's like on a different timeline. But if you can just detach from the physical timeline, you will act much more intuitively without feeling anxious, without feeling like you have to perform, without feeling like you have to succeed. All those things are not, they don't count. When you die, none of those things count. What will count is how present were you and how deeply you felt all these different experiences. So toxic environments try to hijack our nervous system. Keep your clarity by separating your spirit from the drama. Okay, one of my mantras is this is not mine. I see it, but I don't absorb it. Okay, this is not mine. I see it, but I don't absorb it. As a doula, I have to say that all the time. This is not mine. This is not mine. I'm seeing it, I'm not absorbing. Observe people as characters in a movie. Name their patterns, but don't take them personally. You may not even see that person next time. Document any abusive or crazy behavior, especially at work, to stay clear headed and ready if needed. So you want to be practical too. But don't take it personally. That person is on their journey. They are just playing a supporting actor in yours. Even your loved ones, even your mom and dad and your husbands and your wives and your kids, they're all supporting characters in yours. When you die, you may not even see them again, meaning in a new lifetime. You'll definitely see them on the other side. but you may not see them in a new lifetime that you create. So why are you taking everything personal, right? Create a parallel identity space. So start living with your purpose outside of that toxic space, even in small ways. The way I would do it is volunteer, right? Or create, or teach, or write, or start a side hustle of some sort, or even just 1 hour a week aligned with soul's calling. Like, for instance, Jennifer here, right? Jennifer has a job, but then weekly she does like tarot readings with me. And I can see her eyes like light up. Like when we are doing tarot readings, she's like, I can just see her in the flow. And I hope her job's amazing. But I also know that when we do the side hustle, the tarot readings, it's fun, right? So even that just 1 hour a week aligned with your soul's calling, you're going to feel so much more grateful and full, right? Your purpose is real. Even if my environment is not reflecting it yet, my purpose is real. And then just find just one aligned witness. Like I would like you guys to find a safe person who sees and supports your truth, like someone, a friend or someone. Reach out to someone who reminds you of who you are, not you who you've been told to be. I don't know how many of you have those people in your life. Is there at least one person that would show you who you are? They will remind you constantly who you are, not all your belief systems or all the crap that we've been told. So if you do have that person, reach out to them. Now, if you don't have that, look to books, look to teachers, look to podcasts, look to online communities like ours here. Like we have like 150 of us who are doing this at the moment right now. So let's reach out to each other so we can remind ourselves of who we are instead of what we've been told to be constantly. And then remember that you don't owe your destiny to the trauma that your physical body has been through. I cannot repeat this. Sometimes we stay in toxic situations out of guilt or out of duty or conditioning. Let me say that again. Sometimes we stay in a toxic situation out of guilt, out of duty, out of conditioning because we have seen our parents do that. But your soul's purpose doesn't require you to suffer endlessly to be good enough. Okay, you do not owe your destiny to the wound, to the trauma, to the heartbreak that you've suffered before. So I would ask yourself regularly, am I being loyal to my values or am I being loyal to my fear? Am I being loyal to my value or am I being loyal to my fear? I was very loyal to my belief system, which is rooted in fear for a very long time in a romantic relationship. So loyal to my fear, so loyal to what I was being told I should be doing that it kind of took me off course, my core value. And then I could see how, as a spirit, my spirit was like fighting for the core value, and my physical self was fighting for the belief system. And it took me years to say, I think I just like the soul's blueprint, the body is just rented space for a little bit. I'm going to align myself with my soul's core value, right? So reframe your story. What lessons are you gaining about boundaries, resilience, or self compassion? How can this experience that you are in today serve as a preparation for being more aligned in the future? And one last thing, and let's stop talking after that. Remember that your spirit is always free, even when circumstances feel confining and they feel toxic. The inner sanctuary that you build through practices of awareness and compassion and alignment and mediumship and all these things that you guys are studying, they are unshakable. This time is part of your soul's journey and it is going to be really hard. Yes, but it's also going to be super rich with potential transformation for your spirit. So remember that if you have a tough life right now, you're going to have the biggest transformation coming your way from it. And that is exactly what counts in the end, not what you're physically doing, not what you're physically doing, but what counts is that potential transformation that's coming your way. So keep your eyes on that. Okay. So let me stop here. Let me just stop here. Hmm. Okay. Let's see. Any questions on your mind that we didn't get to? I'll have to replay this to see what I was saying. But anything on your mind, guys? Just unmute and ask. Did we go into everything on that email, Katie? Did we get through all the points?
The last node was your three loyal allies, spirit, mind, and body. When you're unsure what to do, tune into the hierarchy. Your spirit knows your path, your mind interprets the signs, your body feels the truth.
That's a good ending. Mm. Oh, thank you, Alicia. Is there anything we did not touch upon? Anything that I did not touch upon that comes to your mind? Oh wow, we went over time too. Okay, this is how our channeling class was, just so you guys know. You know, the conscious channeling, no script, and you just go on. And then if you lose the recording, it's all gone. Like you don't know what you said. Maybe how to deal with pain in the present moment. Yeah. You know, that's a great question because, and I've asked this before, for those of you wondering about that, what about the pain that I feel? You know, the heartbreak or just the physical pain, your spirit's still not feeling it. Your spirit, when you're feeling the pain, your spirit is outside of the body. You're living like a robot. Your spirit does not feel the pain. I'm sure about it because I've been told this a million times that even when we die, the spirit exits the body before the final blow happens. So, yes, the physical body will feel the pain even in death, in hard situations, but the spirit itself is not feeling it. So, the more you begin to live as a spirit, and can I say something? The idea of living as a spirit is going to come to you uniquely. It's not going to happen. I can't give you a path to how to live like a spirit. Okay, I don't have that. At least yet I don't have that. It happened uniquely with me over time, that I started looking at everything as a spirit, which is why I have an attitude of no big deal. Okay, I mean, some of you know me for a long time, and it's like no big deal. Well, it's because I look at it like a spirit. Like, what can possibly go wrong? Like, what can go wrong? Physically, a lot of things. Yes, I agree. Okay. But if you begin to live as a spirit and say, oh, I have like so much more time, I'm not confined to 75 years to make anything happen here, then it's so much easier to detach from the pain of all these complexities coming your way: death, grief, failures, that physically failures, or dreams that you haven't gone after, any of those things, they don't matter. You didn't get to it in this year, fine. You get to it next year or in the next lifetime. You know what I mean? Like we have a lot of time as spirits. So begin to reset your mind to, yeah, take care of your body 1000% because you have to live in it, right? So take care of your body, good food, sleep, water, all those things. But when it comes to processing emotions and grief and really hard stuff, deep stuff, be a spirit. and see how the complexity just like melts away like that. You'll not feel it. You will not feel it. And then when it happens for you, let me know how it came about for you. Okay, how that change in your mindset happened for you, because it's going to be different for each one of us. You're not going to get there like I did, right? You will get there though if you start resetting how you think about like about your children, loved ones. They're just supporting characters, even though you love them. Okay. Anything else? You can put it in the chat and I will rechannel and see what I receive if there's anything. Okay. You can also email me your questions. You don't have to do this all the time. Sometimes I'll reply in emails, but just so many emails. People miss things, right? So this was better because I could go into each one of those points that I described in the email. Okay, so let's wrap up if there are no questions. What I will do, yeah, misalignment with children is tough one to manage. Absolutely. Like I said, it's not easy. It's not going to be easy as a body, but it is going to be super easy as a spirit. I will send out the replay. So if you have the patience to listen me yap again, you can go back and replay it. Feel free to share with anyone you want to share. It's going to be an open link on the YouTube, so you can send it to anyone if it helps someone. Yeah. And if anything comes back to you, any questions, bring them to me. Natalie, can we operate from a spirit without being aware of it? If you are in alignment, then you are operating as a spirit, even though you're living in a body. But misalignment are easy to notice too. Misalignments happen in ego. That's the first sign. When people speak from ego, like possession, like I possess you, I love you, but you're mine. Or ego would be like, oh, I did this in my life. And you can start seeing it's completely misaligned with their spirit because the spirit doesn't speak that language. Doesn't speak that language. Accomplishments mean nothing to your spirit. Presence means everything to your spirit. And how deep can you go with others means everything to your spirit. Thank you so much for spending so much time with me Saturday. Hopefully this was useful. And we'll keep doing such little channeling things. So any questions that come up in the next few days, just send me an email. Okay? Thank you. Have a beautiful Saturday, everyone.
Thanks, Mana.
Thank you.